For more than 2 decades, Mohammed Skaf has remained one of the most recognized names in Australian criminal history. Many people believed his story had already reached its final chapter. They were wrong. June 2026, Sydney. While most residents slept, detectives quietly moved into position across multiple locations. Months of investigation had reportedly led to this moment. Investigators claimed they had been tracking an alleged drug distribution network operating throughout Sydney's southwest. Their target? A man who had already spent more than 20 years behind bars. A man whose name had once dominated headlines across the country. Mohammed Skaf. But what exactly did police uncover? How did investigators allegedly connect him to a major operation? And why has this arrest once again captured national attention? Tonight, we examine the investigation, the allegations, and the events that brought one of Australia's most controversial names back into the spotlight. Back in the headlines, June 2026, a major police operation. Long before the 2026 investigation, Mohammed Skaf had already become one of the most talked about figures in Australian criminal history. In the early 2000s, criminal proceedings involving Skaf generated enormous media attention across Australia. The case sparked nationwide discussions about criminal justice, sentencing, victim protection, and community safety. For years, court proceedings and appeals kept the story in the public eye. Media outlets across the country closely followed every development. As legal proceedings concluded, lengthy prison sentences were imposed. Mohammed Skaf ultimately spent approximately 21 years in custody. For many Australians, his name became permanently linked to one of the most widely reported criminal cases of its era. 21 years in prison, nationwide attention. One of Australia's most discussed cases, when Skaf was released from prison in 2021, public reaction was immediate. News organizations revisited the original case. Community members debated rehabilitation, parole, and public safety. His parole period later ended in 2024. At that point, many believed the story was finally over. Public attention slowly faded, the headlines stopped, the cameras disappeared, and for a time, Mohammed Skaf seemed to have vanished from the national conversation. But behind the scenes, investigators would soon begin examining allegations connected to an entirely different case, one that would once again place his name at the center of public attention. The story wasn't over. According to New South Wales Police, investigators launched a major operation during 2026 targeting an alleged drug supply network. The investigation became known as Strike Force Early 2. Detectives reportedly spent months gathering intelligence. Authorities examined communications, movements, financial activity, and suspected links between individuals. Police alleged that the investigation focused on an organized network involved in the supply of prohibited drugs throughout parts of Sydney. As weeks turned into months, investigators continued building what they believed was a detailed picture of the alleged operation. According to police, intelligence gathered during the investigation suggested that multiple individuals may have been involved. Each person allegedly played a different role. Some were allegedly responsible for communication. Others allegedly handled transportation or logistics. Investigators claim the operation was more sophisticated than it initially appeared. Months of surveillance, police gather intelligence, alleged drug network. But detectives weren't only interested in identifying individuals. Authorities were also attempting to understand how the alleged operation functioned, who was involved, how extensive was the network, and who, if anyone, was directing its activities. Eventually, investigators believed they had enough evidence to move forward. The operation was ready, and the arrests were about to begin. June 10, 2026. Late evening, police teams moved into position across Sydney. According to authorities, multiple coordinated search warrants were prepared. Officers waited, then the operation began. Shortly before midnight, police arrested Mohammed Skaf in Greenacre. Authorities alleged that officers located approximately $25,000 in cash and quantities of suspected cocaine during the arrest. But investigators were only getting started. Additional search warrants were executed at other locations connected to the investigation. According to police statements, detectives recovered further cash, suspected illegal substances, mobile phones, and other items believed to be relevant to the case. Authorities also seized a vehicle that investigators claim may have been connected to the alleged Operation Midnight Raid. Multiple locations targeted. As the operation expanded, additional arrests followed. Investigators claim the raids disrupted a significant alleged criminal enterprise. Within hours, the story had become national news. Mohammed Skaf's name was appearing across television screens, websites, and newspaper headlines throughout Australia. But despite the dramatic arrests, an important question remained. Could investigators prove their allegations in court? Mohammed Skaf was charged with multiple offenses. According to police announcements, the charges include allegations relating to commercial drug supply and directing the activities of a criminal group. Other individuals arrested during the investigation also face separate allegations. However, legal experts consistently remind the public that criminal charges are not proof of guilt. Every accused person is entitled to the presumption of innocence. The allegations must now be examined through the court process. Evidence will be reviewed, witnesses may be called, arguments may be challenged, and ultimately, a court will determine whether the allegations can be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Charges filed. Allegations only. The court will decide. For investigators, the operation represents what they describe as a significant step against organized criminal activity. For defense lawyers, the legal process has only just begun. And for the public, many questions remain unanswered. The arrest has reignited discussions that have followed Mohammed Skaf for years. Can individuals truly leave the past behind? How effective is rehabilitation after lengthy prison sentences? And how should society respond when a well-known former offender returns to the headlines? Those questions continue to generate debate. But for now, investigators remain focused on the legal proceedings ahead. Police say the investigation is ongoing. Additional information could emerge as the case progresses through the courts. And until that process is complete, many details remain subject to legal examination. Ongoing investigation. More court hearings expected. More than 20 years after first becoming a household name, Mohammed Skaf is once again at the center of a major Australian criminal investigation. For some people, the case is a reminder of a notorious chapter in Australian history. For others, it represents an entirely new legal battle that is only beginning. What ultimately happens next will depend on the evidence presented in court. The allegations will be tested, the facts will be examined, and the legal process will determine the outcome. Until then, one thing is certain: a name many Australians never forgot is once again making headlines. The next chapter will be written in court. If you found this documentary informative, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more real crime stories and criminal investigations from around the world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next case.